Oh man, I'm excited. It's Erik Hatch with Hatch Realty and Hatch Coaching coming to you out of Fargo, North Dakota, where we've been. You may be intending to go. Oh, it's been so fun. We've done such big things lately, and I want to walk you through my journey. We're a top 50 real estate team out of Fargo, North Dakota, and that has come by learning a lot of lessons. And where we've been, again, you're already intending on going. And so here we find ourselves unpacking all this and wanting to make sure that we can help you advance and help you to net a ton of money. I want to walk you through my story because full transparency is in my first year of real estate full time, I netted over 200,000 bucks. The year magically was 2011. We were still coming out of the 2007, 2008 crash. It wasn't back to like gangbusters. This was very much a regimented time where it took a lot of skill in order to get there. And I joined real estate as a full-time person in January of 2011. Prior to that, I spent 8 years in the ministry, working with kids, doing youth ministry and leading worship and just having a jolly old time. So I jumped in and I had been a part-time realtor for like 4 years. I want to make sure you understand that asterisk first is I didn't jump into a full-time commission job because I couldn't afford it. Instead, I had to be a part-time realtor and earn my stripes and figure it out before I fully jumped in. And so lesson number one is that jumping in takes some guts. I think you either have to have financial savvy, which I have never had in my life, a trust fund, a sugar mama, or there's really bad financial habits. And instead, I just had a part-time job and figured out how to do it. So I got my rhythm. I understood how to do it. So moment one, I wasn't like, I didn't have to learn the job from the beginning. I had already spent that time learning. Now, however you choose to jump in, I still think it's absolutely possible to make at least $200,000 net money in your pocket your first year. I was with a brokerage where I had to pay them about $25,000. I had my own office space as well and paid for almost all my expenses. And with an average sales price of under $180,000, I netted over 200 grand. Here's how we did it. There's five things I want you to know on how you can net at least 200,000 bucks. And I sold 52 houses, a house a week. The first thing you need to do if you're new to this or if you're looking to get after it, open houses are the jam. Open houses are the thing because you can have people raise their hands and say, I'm interested in buying or selling a house. I just wonder if you can win that relationship. Really, that's what they're saying, unless they're a nosy neighbor, but even those have value to them. You want to find open houses to work regularly. As I record this, we're in the middle of the COVID situation where we don't have that as a luxury, and yet virtual open houses. There's ways to do it. There's ways to get in front of people and to present what you're doing to see who's actually interested. I think, though, a good old-fashioned open house has massive gold to it. My first year full-time, I think I sold about a dozen houses just from open houses. I never actually sold the house that I was working in. You need to understand that. It is a rarity if you sell the house that you're working in. However, I would find buyers that were interested, but maybe they were early on in the process, and I would continue with the relationship until we got to a point that they were ready to commit, and it was on to the next house and on to the next house. And so open houses built a great pipeline for me. However, it didn't help me sell a lot of my listings. By the way, if you don't have listings, if you're the first guy on the block or first gal on the block, there are agents in your office, I can almost guarantee, that are looking for people to work their open houses because they don't want to anymore. They've maybe lost some of that fire and lost some of that hunger. So go after open houses. They don't even have to be your own. If by chance you don't have anybody in your office that has listings that you want to do open houses with, work with new construction. They're almost always looking for people to sit in their properties and help to sell them. And if they don't have to pay a staff member to do that, it's more advantageous. And in fact, that is tip number 2, is to get hyper-focused on an area, a farm, or a designation. Number 1, again, was open houses, but number 2 is to get hyper-focused. Let's start with new construction. If you can work with one builder regularly, there's a good chance that if you scratch their back, they're going to scratch yours. If you bring a number of buyers to them, they may give you some sellers. They may refer some business over to you. If you master their product and you pick up your phone and you're hammering through putting great videos on social media and getting the word out, holy cow, they're going to eat it up. I worked with a new builder my first year and their new construction. I probably sold 7 or 8 of their products. And then they gave me 3 extra deals. They wanted to keep feeding the mouth that was feeding them. And so I mastered their product. I knew more about it than a lot of their team members. And I got to be an expert. And being an expert meant that I had a competitive advantage over everybody else. In addition to that, focusing in on a neighborhood, having that kind of hyper focus has a big advantage for you. Yes, it's good to focus on wherever you can get business. And I'm not saying that in your first year or your 50th year, you shouldn't take whatever comes your way. But mastering a neighborhood, knocking on doors, doing events, just rubbing elbows with people and showing that you know about that neighborhood and care about that neighborhood, that is going to bring you some massive value. So getting hyper-focused has a big win to it. If you're writing this down, and I hope you are, number 1 is open houses on how to get to $200,000 net in a year. It doesn't cost you any money for open houses. Number 2, get hyper-focused on a farm and with new construction. Ooh, there's big meat there. Number 3, social media. I love social media. Social media has been a strategy for me since moment 1. And here's where I went wrong back in 2011. Is I use social media to talk about my business. I just wrote 3 offers this weekend. I just sold a house. And it was nasty. Social media is not about it's about us shining a light on other people. I shouldn't talk about the sale I had. I should talk about the win that my clients got and the amount that they negotiated. Not that I negotiated, but that they negotiated. The new life that they get to start, the deal that they found, whatever it is, I'm talking about them and not about me. When you post pictures and you tag people, what you're doing is you're introducing yourself to their world. I am so intentional with social media that I post on Facebook between 1 and 50 times a day. The engagement that I have and the amount of literally hundreds of thousands of dollars of business I can now track to Facebook every day. I run about a $5 million real estate business right now. And the amount of business I can point to comes from social media, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year because of a social media strategy. And I'm not talking about buying ads. I'm talking about using your voice for a great purpose, using it to shine a light on other people. Take your cell phone, go live or make a video and go interview that coffee shop owner that is the place that you always go to. You don't think that they're going to refer you if you shine a light on their business and promote it and check in and talk about how good their coffee is? You don't think that's going to do great things for you? See, you don't have to buy your way to the top. You can earn your way to the top, and you can do so by mastering the net game and not the gross game. Gross is the size of the commission check in the beginning. Let's say it's 10 grand, but maybe after you're split and everything else, you're down to 7 or 6 or 5 grand. But then if you're buying all this other business and if you're having to pay for it from any lead source, now all of a sudden your net goes down, down, down. I sold my 52 house in my first year, and I had hired a part-time college student halfway through the season. I paid her $10 an hour. And she was a full-time college student, but a part-time team member of mine. I probably invested $4,000, maybe $5,000 in a 6-month period into her salary. And yet I freed myself up to do more of this lead generation stuff. See, it's not spending money on marketing and trying to buy this business. It's earning it. Open houses, hyper focus on new construction and a farm. Number 3, social media. I got 2 more coming your way for those of you taking notes. Number 4 are referrals. Of course, we want to get referrals, but the worst thing you can do, again, the worst thing that you can do is to find somebody who is your pal, that guy you went to college with or that gal you went to college with, and you invite them out for coffee. And you say to them, hey, tell me all about life and your business and how are things going, and you listen for 30 minutes because you think that's what you're supposed to do. And then you go in for the kill and you say, hey, do you know anybody that wants to buy or sell a house, or anybody that you can refer to me? And what you've done is you just literally crapped on that relationship because you said, I didn't care about what you said before. I was just trying to go in for the kill. It is the wrong way to get referrals, is to treat it that way. Instead, you take somebody out to lunch, you ask them about their family, and then that's it. And then you ask them about their business, and then that's it. And then you do it over and over and over and over again. And getting referrals from people doesn't come from a one-time ask, a one-time hit. It comes from 10 times of you investing in them. And the 10th time, and there's no magic with the magic number 10, but the 9th or 10th time you meet with them, you say, hey, can I call you tomorrow? I want to talk business for a quick minute. You identify it as a business conversation. And as you've identified it as a business conversation, you now have set yourself up for a great level of success because they know exactly why you're calling. You're not poo-pooing on all that other relationship building that you're doing. And then you'd simply say, listen, I have a huge goal this year. I want to sell 52 houses. I want to net more money than I ever thought possible because I know the impact that can have on my family and the world. And I don't want to ask you for a referral today, but I do want to teach you how to give me a referral. See, if you know of somebody who maybe is talking about buying or selling, can you do me a favor and can you email or text me and introduce me at that time? So do have a little three-way text or three-way email. Introduce me to John and Jane and just say, this is my buddy Erik, and he's a great realtor, and I think you do really well by him. See, we don't teach our people how to give us referrals very often, do we? We just expect that they give us referrals. And then they tell John and Jane, you should work with Erik, but they don't actually make that introduction. And I promise you, John and Jane ain't calling. So we need to teach our people how to give us referrals. In addition to that, getting really great vendor relationships matters. My first year, I developed a great rapport with a mortgage officer. By the time that year was over, he had referred me to 3 different buyers. 2 of those sold their house. So I had 5 total transactions from one referral relationship with a lender that I was already giving business to. That one I'm unafraid of saying, dude, how can you get me some referrals? So we've covered 4 areas to help you get to $200,000 net bucks your first year. We have open houses. We have a hyper focus on farm and new construction. We have social media. We have referrals. And the 5th is my favorite. Here we find ourselves talking about community engagement. See, I shared with you at the top of this that I spent my first 8 years as a business professional working for the church. I love Jesus. I love God. I love kids. I love worship. And those were all things that I got to do. But I didn't ever do that job to try and sell houses. I had no idea I'd be a realtor. I had no idea that this is what was in store for me. I was just engaged in my community because I care about my community. Not because I'm trying to fill my resume so I get a better at-bat. It was just true to who I was, as I cared about my community. And I invested in people. I spent my time working with them through the good and the bad and everything else. Simon Sinek released a book recently called The Infinite Game, the difference between playing a finite game of trying to win the battle or the infinite game of trying to win the war. And community engagement is that infinite game. It's that long-term play where the seeds you plant today will sprout and germinate months, if not years from now. I had no idea I was setting myself up for business success until all of a sudden I found business success because of what I was doing. I found great success because I cared about people. I was active and involved in the community. I served on boards. I volunteered places, and I made it so that I could be seen and I could see other people. There is big opportunity out there right now for you. And the seeds that you're planting today, they don't need to sprout tomorrow. I mean, you need to find ways to support your business today and tomorrow, but don't be so sheepish and foolish to not plant seeds that are going to totally make your wealth so much bigger years to come. So gang, that's 5 ways for you to net $200,000+ your first year of real estate. I've been doing this now a decade, and this foundation of open houses, hyperfocus, social media, referrals, and community engagement, those 5 steps have made me more money than I ever thought possible. They've created more wealth than I've ever thought possible. The reason why I get to make a video like this is because I did the basic things first and I poured into it. I hope you do the same. So if you like what you heard, I want you to subscribe to our channel. We're going to keep throwing great things to you. The Hatch Coaching channel. Subscribe to our channel because where we have been, you're intending on going. So let's do some great good, and God bless you, friends.